Good morning and welcome to Whenever You Are. I am Bandit Haze, and today I'm going to be talking about Star Wars Rogue One, or rather, let me say it properly. Rogue One, a Star Wars story, the much anticipated Star Wars spin-off, the first Star Wars spin-off. So I watched Force Awakens last year when it came out. Thought it was okay, not bad. It wasn't terrible, certainly, but it wasn't great. It was alright. It was alright. And I saw the trailer for Rogue One. And I thought, you know what? This trailer looks pretty cool. But then I heard about all the reshoots and re-edits and all the stuff they were doing. And I was like, maybe there's other things going on. But then they released another trailer. I was like, you know what? Actually, this still looks pretty damn good. Now, I did have a few concerns, which I'll get into in a little bit. But overall, the trailer was pretty damn good. Anyway, watched the movie today. And yeah, it's a pretty damn good movie, I must say. Alright, so here's the thing. This is my first sort of initial impression of the movie. When the film opens up, the first thing you notice, or the first thing you probably notice, I should say, is that it's not a traditional beginning. Like, I think I could say that without giving away too much. It's a very different beginning to a movie, to a Star Wars movie. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. For this film, it's a good thing. For the other movies, I think for the main storyline movies, maybe not. But for this movie, and possibly not other spin-offs as well, depending on what they do with those. But for this movie, I think it was a good move. I think it was a good move. So yeah, caught my attention. And I know a few other people, I looked online as well, a few other people that caught their attention as well. Not everybody's happy about it. I think it was a pretty good move. So the first scene, if you've watched Inglourious Basterds, straight out of Inglourious Basterds, that opening scene is almost identical to Inglourious Basterds. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Quentin Tarantino was calling a lawyer right now, you know what I mean? It's that close. I hope they got permission, is what I'm saying, because it was pretty close to Inglourious Basterds. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's a bad move. I mean, it worked for the film. It was a good scene and everything else, but yeah, Inglourious Basterds. But then to be fair, Inglourious Basterds was heavily inspired by The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But anyway, you get into the movie, and the general feel, I'm sure you know from the trailers and all that kind of stuff that it's about the whole getting the plans about the Death Star and that whole thing, and you know the whole many Bovins dies to bring us this information. So you see a little bit more of what happens in that, but I'm sure you already know that already. That's pretty clear from the trailers and pretty clear from all the promotional stuff, I think. Now, if you are familiar with Star Wars, then one of the things you might know is that when they blew up the Death Star in Episode 4, and that's a spoiler if you haven't seen Episode 4. Not a spoiler for this film, clearly, but yeah, if you have not seen Episode 4 at this point, then, well, you're probably not going to, or you probably just don't care too much for spoilers anyway. But when they blew up the Death Star in Episode 4, you know, they all talk about they have to shoot the cannon into this hole, and it gets to the reactor and it blows it up. And one of the things that came with that is like, why was there this weakness on the Death Star, like this whole massive thing, and there's this fairly obvious weakness? How does somebody not notice that? So with this movie, you understand how that comes about. It doesn't feel like that they just threw it in there just to try to satiate a little bit. It does feel organic to the film. Now, that being said, there was some other things, or one other thing I should say in particular that I noticed, maybe other things as well that someone else might notice, or you might notice if you've seen the film. But there's one other thing that I noticed that I thought, why is that there? And I don't want to get into, like, I'm not getting into spoiler territory, but if you've seen the movie, then what I'm talking about is where they are in battle and they have to do something in order to get the message out. And that thing that they have to do and how they go about doing it, I was kind of like, why is that there? You know what I mean? Like, why is that there? Out of all the places something like that should be, that doesn't seem like one of them. So let's solve one mystery and perhaps just creating another. So let me talk about some of the characters now. So the lead actress, Jyn Erso, played by Felicity Jones. So when I watched the trailer, she did come across as a bit stiff. Like her character, the way she was acting in the trailers, she felt a bit stiff. And when you watch the film, I did feel like, okay, I get it. It makes sense for her character to be that way. You understand why she's a little bit stiff, so to speak. I mean, from what she goes through and everything else that you see, her upbringing and so on, it makes sense. So that's not something that ruined the film in the end. I felt, okay, I get it. It makes sense for the film. That being said, there was an occasion where her stiffness did seem unnatural just because of what was going on and her reaction to certain things. It just seemed like, really? But overall, it wasn't a problem. Overall, it made sense for the film. Overall, she's a good character. I mean, I prefer her character to Rey's character in The Force Awakens. I think Jyn Erso is more interesting than Rey. Rey just seemed a bit too good, you know, whereas Jyn Erso, she's a bit more complex. Not super complex, to be fair. She's not like the deepest character ever, you know, certainly not. But she was a bit more complex, and I felt like they did a bit more work, or it seems to me anyway, they put a bit more effort into fleshing out her character more, and it worked for the film. It definitely worked for the film. But she's not a standout character, not for me. The obvious standout characters are Chirrut Imwe, played by Donnie Yen, and Saw Gerrera, played by Forrest Whitaker. And if you watch the trailers, then there's no surprise that they're standout characters. Chirrut Imwe, you know, Donnie Yen, martial artist, awesome. His character was just absolutely phenomenal, and I loved how he's introduced and how he was reintroduced, and how he sort of plays out in the film. You know, it was just all done really well. Saw Gerrera, Forrest Whitaker's character, really cool character as well. I felt like they could have done more with him though, and the last time you see him in the movie, I mean, I get that certain things have to happen, of course, but I feel like the way it happened, it could have been done differently, but in the end, it didn't matter that much. It still, I mean, it didn't ruin the movie is what I'm saying, but yeah, Saw Gerrera and Chirrut Imwe, they're to me were the obvious standout characters from just looking at the trailer. What may not be so obvious from the trailer is Orson Krennic, or Director Krennic, played by Ben Mendelsohn. Let me say his name properly. Ben Mendelsohn. In fact, I'm probably still butchering it, actually. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, Ben. Anyway, Orson Krennic, bloody amazing, and not so much because of the character itself, but more because of the actor. I'd say more because the way he was portrayed, like his whole thing about, you know, his quest for power, if you will, and just how that plays out and how he portrays it. You know, that a lot I think I can safely say is down to the fact that the actor Ben Mendelsohn did an absolutely amazing job in portraying that almost a megalomaniac type character, and it's incredible just to watch that on screen and how it plays out and how he fits into the story, you know, with Grand Moff Tarkin and, you know, the rest of the Imperial forces, and it's just his scene with Vader. Whew, I'm not even gonna say it. No spoilers, but if you've seen it, you know. If you've seen it, you know, right? And but yeah, absolutely incredible performance from Ben Mendelsohn. But speaking of Darth Vader, you know, Darth Vader's in this movie, and you get a little bit of a snippet of him in the trailer. You know, you get a little taste, just to let you know that he's there, right? And you know, you're not expecting him to be the main villain like you know was in like episode 4, of course, but you know he's gonna be there, you know he's gonna have some kind of role, and he does. He makes a massive impact, and that's what's important, and I like that they did it that way. I'm glad that they didn't make him the main bad guy. I felt like what they done with Orson Krennic as the villain was incredible, and Darth Vader being the main bad guy, that would have taken away a lot from what Ben Mendelsohn put into that character. So I'm glad they did it this way. But Darth Vader, the character, of awesome character, of course, we all know that, but just how they put him in this movie, and there's a scene, oh my days, if you see this movie, then you know what I'm talking about, when it's scene towards the end, when man have to get some things, you get me? Oh boy, man have to retrieve something, you know what I mean? And boy, oh, I'm not even gonna say it. Well, I'm not gonna say it, but yeah, they did alright with that one. They did alright. It was a pretty damn awesome scene. Alright, but anyway, here's the thing about the ending. It gets to the end, and it has a pretty cool, you know, piece of trivia, a pretty cool piece of, you know, nostalgia, if you will, or fan service. And, you know, it works for the film. I'm not mad about that. It was kind of expected, to be fair, if you know sort of the story and things. But just the end in itself, it did feel abrupt. But then I'm thinking about it, and I'm not sure if there's any other way they could have done that, because it is set in this little period, you know, this very small period of the Star Wars about, you know, getting the plans from the Death Star. And because, you know, if we've got episode 4 and episodes 1, 2, and 3, and you know what happens before, you know what happens afterwards. So it's very they've got this restrictive area to work within. But the thing is that even though they had this restrictive area to work within, the film really takes advantage of the fact that it's a spin-off. I wanted it to, you know, explore what you can do with Star Wars without necessarily being tied too much to, you know, the big main Star Wars. I mean, of course, it is tied in a sense of the story, but it's only really, you know, that bit that is tied to it, just in terms of, you know about the retrieval of the plans. But everything else, they had free reign, and they really explored that. And the type of movie it was a very different feel to a typical Star Wars movie. You can, I felt certainly that there were scenes that felt very inspired by, you know, war movies, and so the battle scenes, they felt, you know, very raw at times. Not like, I mean, it's not like a gory, violent, super violent movie or anything like that. But yeah, you get to the end and it just felt like it just ends. And the shame of it was that I was thinking that had this not been a spin-off to Star Wars, had it been more of its own thing, you know, they could have done an awesome ending, they could have done all kinds of stuff, and it would have been like this amazing epic movie had it not been tied to Star Wars. But it was tied to Star Wars, and they did as well as they could, I felt, but the ending was kind of like, huh. But overall, you know, it's an enjoyable film. I really liked it. Definitely think it's worth seeing in the cinema, absolutely. If you are a Star Wars fan, and you've probably watched it already. If you're not a Star Wars fan, I think this is actually a good place to start. If you've seen like Star Wars trailers, or maybe seen a little bit of Star Wars before, you know, I'm not really into it that much. This is a very different Star Wars movie. So I think if you're not a Star Wars fan already, this is a good place to start. Or just something, if you want something a bit different from, say, the previous Star Wars movies, this is definitely a good place to start. It didn't rely too much on things like I mean, it had a little bit of fan service, as I mentioned before, but it didn't rely too much on fan service, like, or nostalgia, like with, you know, Force Awakens, where it felt like almost every other scene in Force Awakens was some kind of reference to Episode 4 or some other thing in Star Wars. And to be fair, they're not the first Star Wars movie to do it. Force Awakens is not the first Star Wars movie to make those kind of references or connections and things. It just did it to the point where it was like, I get it, dude. You know. But with Rogue One, it makes a few references, but it doesn't overdo it, and it certainly doesn't rely on it. It's very much its own story, just within the Star Wars universe. All right, so let me end on this then. Now, some of you guys know that I'm part of an extras agency, and I do extras work sometimes with movies and TV shows. And for some of you might notice already that I was an extra in James Bond Spectre, and I was also an extra on an episode of 24 on season 9 when they did like the the half season thing. So yeah, those are my biggest ones. I've done some other ones as well. I can't talk about all of them because, you know, non-disclosure agreements and all that kind of stuff. But now that the film is out, now that Star Wars is out, I can talk a little bit about this one. And I was not an extra in Star Wars Rogue One. However, I was almost an extra in Star Wars Rogue One. I got the call, or rather I got the message that says, are you available? It never tells you what it is. He's either available or you're not. Anyway, I got the message, are you available for this fit-in makeup test and things? I was like, all right, cool, I'm available. So I went, and I get there, I was like, oh damn, this is Star Wars. And, you know, they did all the makeup tests, and they were trying out some scenes, and met the director as well. I look like bloody Goku out of Dragon Ball Z. I had some blonde wig on, and yeah, anyway, so there's a bunch of us there. I can't remember how many, maybe 10, 15 of us. I mean, there was more in total, but on the day I was there was about 10, 15 of us. And then it seemed to be all going well, but then it was getting closer and closer and closer and closer to the day where it was supposed to be happening, and then I wasn't hearing anything. I was thinking, you know what, this doesn't seem right. And then just I think about a day before it was supposed to go, they got the message saying no, it's been cancelled. So I was like, damn it, man, damn it, because I was really really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to that. I mean, I could have been in Star Wars. They're so close, so close. But yeah, still a great film, and regardless of the fact that I'm not in it, it's still a great film, still worth seeing. And that is what I think of Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. Villagers, what do you think? I have a bad feeling about this, or so be it, Jedi. Let me know down below, and if you liked this video, give it a like and share it amongst your friends. If you did not like it, then give it a dislike and share it amongst your enemies. Either way, let me know your reasons in the comments. Subscribe if you have not already. Thank you for watching, and until whenever, if ever, be careful not to choke on your aspirations.